Hello, and welcome to the Steps to Happiness show on Soulivity TV. I'm your host, Teresa Greco, happiness coach, author, editor, writer, educator, and Reiki master. On my show, we've explored the latest physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being practices that can help lead you back to the happiness within you. The happiness principle for today's show is happiness is living heaven on earth. So I ask you, are you waiting to die to go to heaven? Is heaven a far off place in the sky with white pearly gates that you'll hopefully enter if you're judged to be worthy? What if I told you you don't have to die to go to heaven and then that you're already worthy of heaven exactly as you are? This could be hard for you to believe. But you can experience heaven on earth wherever you are. That's because heaven is a state of being. Heaven can be experienced right here and now. But many of us don't realize this because of our past conditioning that has taught us that heaven will be found sometime in the future if we've become enlightened or in the afterlife. The truth, however, is that within you lies a world of happiness and bliss few people know about and have experienced. It's not necessarily about following any religion or believing in any doctrine to get there. It is about tuning into your true essence, your original nature, your higher self, the infinite and eternal part of you that's connected to everything that ever was, is, and will be. Heaven is the remembrance of your God self, while hell is your forgetfulness of who you really are and where you came from. We experience the misery of hell on earth to the extent we are forgetful of our connection to the source of all that is. We are all a part of the energy that created this existence, and it is within us to rediscover and connect to at any moment. Many of us are searching for happiness and the bliss of heaven in our everyday life, not recognizing that we already have everything we've been searching for. You are already a being of light and love living in heaven on earth. You don't have to be, seek, or do anything different. You don't have to be good enough, smarter, richer, more enlightened to be worthy of entering heaven. You just have to look within and see what's already there. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we come back, I'll introduce my first guest as we talk about how to live a heaven on earth.
Hi, it's Kerry Ann here. You should try Natural Life Propolis and Manuka Spray to soothe mouth irritation, relieve symptoms of mild mouth ulcers, and also fight sore throats and the common cold. And it's an antioxidant. Always read the label and follow the directions for use.
Welcome back to the Steps to Happiness show. Now, we're going to be diving deeper into the happiness principle for today with my guest, who has written a book entitled How to Experience Heaven on Earth. He's a multiple best-selling author, counselor, master life coach, international speaker, radio and TV host, and a minister. David Essel, hello and welcome to the show.
Teresa, not only am I fired up to be with you today, but this topic is absolutely crucial for us to be talking about. And I say it's crucial, especially during the times we're going through. During these times, we need anchors. We need rocks to hold on to. We need the truth, for gosh sake. And as you and I did a little pre-show talk, we have not been given the truth. The truth has been hidden for
Mhm.
years. It's been here forever. My God, it's been here for 3,500 years. Before Christ was born, it was here. We all know the truth. Previous religions, Hinduism, Buddhism, that preceded Christianity, talk about what we're going to talk about all the time, heaven on earth. My gosh, it's just taken us as a civilization a hell of a long time to catch up with what people knew 3,500 years ago, Teresa.
Awesome, awesome. So, and I know that you've studied the world religions for years and trying to find logic in the teachings, but you've experienced something very unique, that heaven is here right now. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that means, David?
Yeah, the experience of heaven is so personal. In the book, How to Experience Heaven on Earth, at the very end, I'm going to give away the very end just so you get an idea of one experience of heaven on earth. The story is about a monk that goes into a monastery expecting he's going to experience heaven on earth every day of his life in the monastery. But what he finds is what goes on with the interpersonal conflicts and the jealousy and the frustration is identical to the outside world. So he has to find
Mm.
a way to tap into that inner knowledge, inner resource. And he does it through a mentor, an older monk. Now, I'm getting chills right now because in the book, we don't know if the monk is a figment of his imagination or if it's really an old monk. It's up to the reader to decide. But at the very end, there's an experience that I believe is the epitome of heaven on earth that we miss in all kinds of forms on a regular basis. And as the young monk had become an old monk, he had just got done teaching all these new young monks in the monastery about the ways of the monastery. And he went out for a walk in his favorite field down by the brook, crossing the bridge into the field where there was a deer sitting near an apple tree eating. And as the monk approached, the deer looked up and the monk stood still. And within a few seconds, the deer walked closer to the monk. And before he knew it, the deer's nose was touching the monk's nose, and tears rolled down his face as he had just experienced home, which what we call heaven on
Mhm.
earth.
Yes. Oh, it's beautiful. And throughout my show, we always talk about coming home to ourselves, to who we really are. And it's a sense of knowing. Like, I had breakfast with a new friend of mine a couple weeks ago, and the same thing. I just got like chills and some tears came to my eyes because I said, there's a sense of home between us, as if I know you, but not from this dimension. It's it was it's a feeling, almost it's hard to describe until you felt it and you know it. And it's so amazing in that moment between the deer and him, that he could feel that.
Yeah, and these experiences, Teresa, are around us all the time. When I say to people, like, how do you know that you've just experienced heaven on earth? And I say, well, one of the ways is, are you moved in a positive emotional direction? And if you are, by seeing someone help someone across the street, or, in this
Yeah.
case, the deer with the monk, when you see that, I have a very strong affinity to the homeless. And I think the homeless are incredibly wise teachers, and many of them mentors to all of us. But if you never get a chance to sit and talk with the homeless, you don't know that. And I look at so many of my experiences as experiences of heaven on earth. These are saints. These are angels in human form. And I'll tell you a quick story again, the homeless and heaven on earth. I used to live in Sarasota, Florida by the bay, and I would run around this really beautiful park, this marina every day. And of course, I would have shorts on and no money. And this guy, Mark, would come out of the woods every day, out of the bushes, and he'd ask for money. He was just panhandling. And I would say, Mark, I don't have any money. And one day I reached in my pocket and I had a dollar bill. I thought it was a dollar bill. And I said, oh my God, Mark, I can't believe it. It's sweaty as can be. And I went to hand it to him and I saw it was a $5 bill. Now, this is going to sound funny, but I go, oh, wait a minute. I don't mind giving the homeless $2 or $3, but that's a five. That's a pretty funny thought that went through my head. And finally, I just said, oh, Mark, he goes, that's a $5 bill. I said, I know, Mark. Look, let me bless it for you. Use it to your highest good. That's all I'm going to say. I don't tell people how to use their money. I just say, use it to your highest good. And, I pray to God at some point it'll sink in, and they will. And he said, no, 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 no. I must give you a gift. I must give you a gift. And I said, Mark, I don't need a gift. Please just take the money. And he started going through his knapsack, Teresa. And I thought, now here is a derelict, a drug addict, an alcoholic. I see him every day. He never can remember he sees me. He never can. We've met before. I mean, he would say that every day, right? And here's this angel on earth wanting to give something because I gave him a couple dollars, someone who has no money, and he wants to give me something back. And I kept saying no. And also he said, okay, I won't give you anything out of my bag, but I make up really good stories. Can I tell you a story for your $5? And I'm going, now, Teresa, you can imagine. I'm going, oh my God. I go, Mark, how long is the story? He goes, 5 minutes. I swear it won't be more than 5 minutes. I said, okay, go ahead. That story turned into one of our #1 best-selling books called Rockstar: Finding God's Purpose for Your Life. That was a heaven on earth experience, Teresa. That was pure heaven on earth. I'm getting chills right now. What are the odds that we would stop for a homeless man? What are the odds that the average person would give them a couple dollars? And what are the odds that they would learn that this homeless man is a gift from God directly in front of David Essel?
Amazing.
We miss
So
it, Teresa.
we miss it, and we miss it. And I think this leads to like why I feel perplexed about the fact that religions that, many different types, I grew up Catholic, kept this type of knowledge away from me. It kept God outside of me, that I had to go to church in order to be with God. Otherwise, if I prayed to him at home, it wasn't the same, which didn't make sense. And how is it that the creator that created all things, omniscient and omnipresent, can't be with me at home? No, you have to be at church. Jesus is at church. So this knowledge that heaven is here and now around us and within us as well,
Yeah.
that we are all part of that. Why do you believe that is the case?
Well, Teresa, I'm a former pastor of a church, and I'm still a minister, and I still fill in for people that need a weekend off. I don't do it full time, but I did it full time for a number of years. And I can tell you from the experience of being a pastor. Now, our church did not do what you're talking about, but the whole purpose is control, Teresa. If we can control the masses and tell them that the only place is here in this building, that the only way you're going to get to heaven, and this is a topic I get very pissed off about,
Mhm.
is tithing. I hate the concept of tithing because you are paying God to give you something. That's what tithing is all about. The ministers, the preachers will tell you all the time, you're in God's favor. The more you tithe, the more you're in God's
Yeah.
favor. The more you tithe, the more good things will come to you. I would love to say some very inappropriate things right now about these religions, but I will not. It is a control game. It is a money game. It is a greed game. It is a codependent game. They're trying to make us codependent, that we can't experience God unless we're in a building. That's called codependency. If you wonder why the Catholic Church is dying, if you wonder why all these different churches are closing down and they're starting to pull them together, if you wonder why there's a shortage of priests, a shortage of nuns, there's hardly any nuns
Mhm.
left coming into the Catholic Church these days. There should be no question. Eventually, the masses will awaken to the codependent nature of all religions, not just the Catholic Church. I mean, my God,
Mhm.
my mom and my dad became an altar boy at 72 in the Catholic Church. Okay, they were so devoted. When he retired for 10 years, they went 7 days a week. Like they were so devoted. But one of the most beautiful things my dad ever said, it was in 1996. I hosted a nationally syndicated show on Westwood One, and we were getting death threats because I was talking about Buddhism and Hinduism and all these
Mm.
beautiful religions, just absolutely stunning religions, and we're actually getting letters in the mail of people threatening my life, and all of these right-wing Christians
Mhm.
right
Yes.
wing Christians threatening to kill me. Think about that, right? Now, have you
Mhm.
ever heard of the initials WWJD?
No.
It's very popular in the world of Christianity. What would Jesus do? So I ask all the Christians out there that are
Mm.
hating on the transgenders and the gays and the obese and the other religions. Is that how Jesus would treat the obese and the
Mhm.
transgendered and the gay? Is that how Jesus would treat the homeless? Is that how
No.
Jesus would treat someone with a different belief system? Wake the hell up, world. We're not living the way Jesus would live. We're living the way man wants us to live by controlling finances,
Mhm.
by controlling your mind. Come on now, they're all cults. And now I say they're all cults. If you're in a church that says this is the only way to heaven, you are in a cult.
Mm.
CULT. If you're with something like Unity Church, which I happen to be a big fan of, they're very open minded. I did a service at a Unity Church not too long ago that was 40% gay, 20% transgendered. And then there was a bunch of seniors in there. I'm a senior, much older than me, loving all these people. Like they don't have these blocks, or they've let them go of what they were trained early on in their religion. You know, like
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
religion really wanted to be religion, they would embrace each other, Teresa. They would say,
Mhm.
sure, go to the Protestants, see what it's like. Maybe you'll connect better there. Go to, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yes.
that would be, if I work with I do a ton of one-on-one work with entrepreneurs and executives. If I find someone, and it rarely happens, I've been doing this for 43 years, it's happened twice that I can remember, that I said, I think you'd be better off with a different counselor. I really do. I see what you want. I see what you need. I see our personalities. And I really think that there'd probably be someone that would be better suited for you. Now, I've done it twice in 43 years, so I don't have to do it that often. But I'm very honest, like I have no fear that there's not enough people in the world to fill my business. And our church
Mhm.
is afraid that there's not, of course, they're afraid because now they're losing control. If they were to say, try another church, they would be losing control
Mhm.
and money, Teresa.
Mhm. So now that we've talked about the grim reality of, of religions and life on earth, we're going to bring it back to in the name of the show, which is the steps to happiness. So we're going to now take a shift into how can we tap into the heaven within us and around us? How can we start to be more aware of the fact that we are actually living, we can live a heaven on earth. We can be within that heaven at any moment, that we don't have to die to get there. We don't have to be judged worthy to get there. We don't have to be enlightened. We don't have to become monks. We don't have to do any of these things in order for us to begin living our happiest life here, moment by moment. So let's get into how can we start to look for those experiences.
Teresa, it's a beautiful question. And, number one is that we have to create the intention to look for heaven on earth. We have to create that intention. And I encourage people to put it in writing, that I intend today to look for experiences of heaven on earth. Outside of my home, we have all kinds of birds, and watching a mother bird feed a baby is heaven on earth. It is so adorable. We have this family of woodpeckers, and the little baby sits there with its mouth open. Mom goes and gets a seed, cracks it open, brings it down to the baby. I mean, it's extremely gorgeous, and that's heaven on earth.
Mhm.
But we have to create the intention to look. Number one. Number two, we have to record these experiences in a journal. The brain is inundated with
Mhm.
5,000 dings and dongs from the damn cell phones and the iPads and all this kind of crap, like get away from electronics. As a matter of fact, Teresa, one of the things that we encourage everyone that want to experience heaven on earth on a daily basis and more deeply is the first hour of every day to be electronic free, completely electronic free. No phones, no news, no radio, no text, no messages, no Instagram, no Facebook, nothing for 60 minutes. Sit in nature. Heaven will arrive. Sit in nature. It's
Mhm.
right there. and then start observing the beauty. My mom and dad died in the last year and a half. And I have understood grieving at a level I never thought I would understand it. But I also, if I may share a story of my mom in heaven visiting me. This is a true story. This is not made up. This isn't a figment of my imagination. This is reality. It's happened twice with my mom. It's happened twice with my dad. The very first time my mom visited me from heaven, which means after she passed over, I realized that she's always with me, that heaven is right here. And I'm laying in bed and my partner's head is on my shoulder and I'm starting to fade into a sleep. But then all of a sudden I noticed this big, huge black screen in front of my eyes. And I thought, wow, am I already dreaming? But my partner, her head was going up and down on my chest. So I knew I was conscious, right? And the screen is there. So I'm checking the head. I'm looking at the screen. I'm going, am I making this up? And the screen goes up. And Jesus Christ is standing there with this incredibly accepting, beautiful look on his face. He says no words, but it is just an amazingly powerful expression of love. And then the screen goes down. And then it comes back up. 10 months before, my mom had died. Which is a year ago and about 9 months right now, 8 months that she died. She was number one in my life. I still grieve. I still, I feel the immense tears right now. And she's standing there. And the first 10 months of her passing, Teresa, was without a doubt the hardest 10 months of my life. 2 years before she died, she went into hospice with dementia. And so the last 2 years that she was alive physically, she was not with us very much at all mentally. And my younger brother, who is just an angel, would text me and say she's coming into reality. She's going to be lucid in a moment. Can we FaceTime? And she had lost all of her ability to show expression. But do we have time for 2 quick stories or no? I want to respect your time.
Thank you so much for asking. Maybe just if you want to finish this part about your mom, and then we'll move into the last part.
Okay. So really quickly, she had no expression on her face when she was alive, but we would talk and I would tease the heck out of her and she would tease me back, but there was never a smile or never anything. And that's how I had to remember her. And so here she is, the screen is up and she's looking at me and she says, "Oh, David, I'm fine. I'm actually doing great, honey. I know you're in a lot of pain, but just realize I'm with you all the time. Now, honey, I must go, but please don't ever forget that I'm with you constantly. I love you." And then the screen came back down. Now, when the screen came back down, I jumped out of bed screaming, "Was that a lucid dream? Was that my mom?" And my partner jumped up and she looked at me and she said, "Where did you go? It was real. What happened? There was tears streaming down your face. You were talking to your mother." It was. And Teresa, how this happens is anyone can have this. I'm not special. I created what I called gateways. From the minute she died until that experience when she visited me, every day I journaled to her. I wrote her stories of what my day was like. Like I told her how much I loved her and I reminded her of things she did to me. Like I was a really troubled kid. I became an addict at 12. life was not easy in the Essel home, and she never gave up. Like she never kicked me out once. She never, and so, it was real, and anyone can have this. But you have to put the work in. You have to look. I have my mom's pictures all over the freaking place. My office, my home, my pockets, like I have my dad's pictures because he died this January. Like heaven on earth is here. I feel them both, Teresa. I talk to them both every day. I call them the still small voice within. I ask them for advice when I'm challenged. I sit and talk to them every day. And I believe, Teresa, to experience heaven on earth and to welcome those who have passed over. I don't believe this crap about control. You have 90 days to connect with the one who's going to pass over. Then you'll never be able to connect with them again. I mean, you hear all this crap. Come on now. It's been a year and 9 months.
Yeah.
I'm still seeing my mom. I'm still communicating with her, So
Yes. Yes.
there's just a lot of stories and control that we've been given that is pure fallacy. Heaven is here. It's in your freaking heart. It's in your beautiful eyes. It's all over the place. But, we have to be willing to look. And then, like I said before, Teresa, I think the greatest thing that's helped me and all these people now that I'm working with their grieving process, because so many of us have lost loved ones, is the documentation, is the written journal. And I'm not just talking about visitations from those who have passed over. I mean, when you see something incredible, a gorgeous cardinal, a sunrise, this is all heaven. All of this is heaven. And when you see a little kid laughing uncontrollably, that's heaven. Like, I mean, there's millions of examples of it happening every day, but we get so blinded. We put on those horse blinders, and this is the way they told me, and this is the way they told me, and instead become independent, break out. Listen to what Teresa and I are talking about. Try this stuff. I promise you it'll work. You start writing down every day. Here was a little piece of heaven. Listen, someone letting someone else in traffic. It rarely happens. When it does, it's called a miracle. Heaven on earth.
Oh, David, thank you so much for sharing your very personal story with us. Thank you, because we've all had those moments that we've lost somebody precious in our lives, and knowing that we can always remain and we are connected to them at any moment. And when I speak about happiness, I say that we are love, peace, and happiness at our core. Our essential nature, our original nature is happiness, love, peace, and happiness. But the world very slowly takes us away from that, right? And so thank you so much for basically, you kind of inadvertently led into this last question, which is like, how do we stay in remembrance of who we really are? How do we stay in remembrance of the fact that we can live, and we are living a heaven on earth, although we're not aware of it because we haven't been programmed or taught to know that the truth, that every moment is perfect exactly as it is, and that we need to slow down enough. We need to be present and in the moment, that we miss the miracles. As you said, somebody lets you in, and I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you. I kind of wave in my back mirror, but nobody does that anymore. You hold the door for somebody. Nobody says thank you. People are missing these like little miracle moments that, yes, because we're on our phone, we're distracted. I don't know, but this is why being so mindful of how we're living moment by moment is so important, because we are going to miss those heaven on earth moments throughout our everyday.
And Teresa, as well, we can create these gateways that I keep talking about. The journaling, the recording. The other thing that I did for my mom, and this was after her visitation to me, is that I dug a 10-foot by 10-foot garden and put huge hibiscus plants in it, right? And it was all for my mom. And then when my dad died, I added another massive hibiscus plant. So every day when I go out in the courtyard and sit for about an hour and a half without any type of electronics, I'm surrounded by their energy. But that's a way I stay connected to them, right? You can do it in a house. You can have a house plant being your mom. It doesn't have to be a 10 foot by 10 foot garden. It's just those are the things that remind us that they're with us, that they remind us that we're engaged with them at any point that we want to be. And the other day, I sold a house, and I wrote a story to mom and dad about how that was the house I put their garden in, and that was the house they both passed away. And this is the house I'll never forget. It was filled with sadness, yes, but also filled with incredible joy. If we had more time, I'd tell you my dad's experience because it was even as mind blowing as my mom's. But I know that we're limited here, Teresa. But the idea is this: if you want to create heaven on earth, you need to first create the intention to look for heaven on earth. It will not appear if you're not looking for it. Number one, when you see it, if it means you pull over the side of the road and jot it down, pull it down. Oh my God, I saw a triple rainbow. Now, I've never seen a triple rainbow. I've seen a double. But if I ever saw a triple rainbow, I'd want to pull over, take a picture, and document it, right?
Yeah.
Because that's unheard of. But these things are happening regularly, and we just need to get conscious. And you used a word a minute ago, in the moment, mindful. And thank you, God, Eckhart Tolle, for hammering that home a number of years ago with his book, The Power of Now, right? We have great teachers out there that are reminding us to do this. And when people read our book, How to Experience Heaven on Earth, I think it's going to blow them away, Teresa. I really think it's going to blow them away at the way this monk transformed his mind to see it everywhere. He ended up seeing heaven everywhere. Even in the midst of discord between other monks, he could see heaven. And that's what I'd love everyone on this earth to be able to finally understand, is that you can too.
Thank you. Now, David, if people want to connect with you on the show and get a copy of the book, how can they do that?
Oh, the easiest thing to do is just to go to our website, talkdavid.com. Talkdavid.com, it has all of our programs. It has all of our books and everything that you might need to know. And if you want to do work one-on-one, we do it a little differently, Teresa. As a counselor and executive coach, we support people 5 days a week with our one-on-one program. So not only do you get me for an hour, Zoom, phone, Skype, whatever you want, but then Monday through Friday, we're in touch. And that's what makes our work different. And I think that's one of the things that's made it different for the past 43 years. We realize that people need high accountability to make some of these changes, like how to experience heaven on earth. It's not the easiest thing in the world to do, but if you have accountability on a daily basis, it's definitely possible.
Thank you again for being on the show today and sharing the ways that we can live happy and have a heavenly life on earth.
Teresa, I've loved it. Your questions were awesome. You're a wonderful host. And I want to give you a really great compliment. I've been in the media business for a long time. One of the signs of a phenomenal host, ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about your host, Teresa, is when a guest is going into an emotional experience, the host is quiet. Teresa, you did that magically. You did it masterfully. And it's not something that many people know how to do. Most people, when they're silenced, they want to jump in and talk. Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss, and blah, 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 freaking blah. No, do what Teresa does. Teresa gave me the space to feel, which allowed her to feel, which I hope allowed you to feel. So if you want to send her an email telling her she's exceptional for allowing her guest to be emotional, I would highly recommend that you do that right now.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. And I really appreciate that. And as I said, today is the last episode of this season of the show. And so thank you so much for sharing that with me and being with our viewers. Thank you.
You bet, Teresa.
I'd like to leave you with the thought for the day. What would happen if you decided that everything in your life was perfect, just the way it is, that nothing needed to improve, and that we're going to allow things to be exactly the way they are and still be happy? One small shift is all it takes. Happiness is realizing that you don't need to achieve, earn, find, wait for, purchase, or pursue anything to be happy, because the truth is you already are It's been hidden in plain sight. Heaven is in everything and everyone. Everything bright and beautiful in your life is there to remind you that you already are there. Experiencing the blissfulness of your true nature is not as difficult as it seems. Practicing mindfulness can help you to experience your true essence in the present moment. Can you feel the warm summer breeze on your skin? Can you hear the pitter-patter of the raindrops? Can you feel the breath of life with every inhale? Can you sense the loving and gracious presence dwelling within you? These are all portals into the world of heavenly bliss, which is our natural state of being. Throughout the ages, great prophets, masters, and sages have provided knowledge on how we can tune into this beautiful world within us. But in the end, it is something that we have to experience for ourselves. Slowing down, coming back to our breath, and being in the present moment can help us to feel the warm, loving energy in our heart and carrying it with us throughout our busy day. Living in heaven on earth is not losing that connection despite the distractions and the blocks that can prevent us from feeling the happiness that's always within us to feel. I invite you to explore that part of you where love, peace, and happiness exists. There is an energy you are a part of, and everything that exists is a part of it too. No one is excluded. No one is deemed unworthy. Each of us is an integral part of all of creation. And when we become aware of that is when life on earth changes. We can awaken each day knowing we are love and light, and we can choose to share it with everyone we meet, with everything around us, enjoying one blissful moment after the other. Staying in the remembrance of who we really are and helping others to do the same is the key to our happiness. Coming home to ourselves and the truth of what we are allows us to create and manifest the life we want moment by moment each day of our lives. It's been an honor and a blessing to be with you here each week on Soulivity TV. If you've enjoyed the content, let me know by connecting with me on Instagram at Teresa Greco _ step to happiness. On Facebook at Steps to Happiness with Teresa Greco. I'd love to know what you loved about the show. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all much love, health, and happiness.